Chapter 3, Section 1. We are going to learn about inequalities, and graphing these inequalities. How does that work? What are we talking about inequalities first off? Inequalities, I'm going to just INQ. Inequalities are things like less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. Those are inequalities. All right? Now, when we work with inequalities, what it's saying is, let's say I said x is less than 3. What that means is x can be any number that's less than 3. In fact, if we take a number that's less than 3, let's say 2, and we put it in for x, then this here would still be a true statement, right? 2 is less than 3. So that's how our inequalities work. But it could also be 1. It could be 0. Okay? So there's a whole list of numbers that are less than 3. That's working with inequality. That's what inequalities mean. How do we graph that? We're going to work with what's called number lines. And this is a number line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to just call that 5, and I'm going to go negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. All right? So I've just created a number line with plus 5 and a negative 5 on it. When we work with an inequality, less than or greater than, and I want to say that I'm starting at a certain number. When we start, we're going to have an open circle for a less than or greater than. For a less than or equal to and a greater than or equal to, this circle becomes filled in. Now I've made them a little bigger than what you really need to do, but that's just to show you that that's what they come out to. So if I was going to take x is less than 3, how would I graph that on my number line? Well, first thing I'd do is I'd find 3, which is right here. Next, I'm going to look at this sign right here, and I'm going to say, which one is it? Well, it's out of the less than group, okay? So we're going to put an open circle here. Now, if you watch this sign, which way is this arrow here pointing? This arrow is pointing this way, correct? So from this point, we're going to draw an arrow. What we've just done is we've just graphed x is less than 3. This is a graph of x is less than 3 on a number line. Let's take a look at some other examples of what I'm talking about. Let's say I say x is greater than or equal to 3. Now, if you remember, my less than and greater than are open, and my less than or equal to and my greater than or equal to are closed dots. So, if we look at create our number line again, here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I've got my number line. I look at the number up here, and it's 3, so I'm going to count over 3. 1, 2, 3. And since this here is a greater than or equal to, this is a solid dot. And I look at which direction is my arrow pointing. Well, my arrow is pointing this direction here. All right? So that's where I'm going to put my arrow here, is in that direction. This should help you understand how we graph with a number graph using inequalities. One more example. Let's say x is less than or equal to a negative 2. Make my number line, find my 0. Now, do I have to count out 5 in both directions? No, I really don't. All I have to do is 1, 2 in the negative direction. Mark that. I've got my 2. I know that it's going to be less than or equal to, so it's a solid dot. I follow which way my arrow is pointing with my less than, and that's the way I make my arrow. So I have just graphed x is less than or equal to minus 2.